Hey there, welcome to Hermit Haven. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jackie. We're so excited to invite you into our safe space. Hermit Haven is like a cozy little hideout where we get to celebrate being confident in ourselves as we find happiness in quiet moments.
So grab your favorite blanket and your favorite drink, and let's dive into today's episode.
Hi, I'm Jackie. Welcome back to Hermit Haven.
Hi, I'm Ashley. We're so excited to have you this week. We are going to chat about boundaries.
I'm really excited for this week because I feel like in my life, not that I didn't have boundaries, I just didn't exactly even know like how to make boundaries, and the people pleaser in me didn't, it's not I didn't want them because I didn't want to like push people away. But the only person that really I hurt in that process was me. So I am really excited to talk about this today because I just feel like it's such a powerful topic that people need to know like it's a good thing to have boundaries.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really excited to talk about this one because I feel like I didn't know how to create boundaries, like you said, and it took me a really long time to learn. And I also feel like I would get pushed over if someone didn't listen to that boundary, and I would just kind of let them walk over me. So I feel like I'm at like this point where I've created boundaries and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to talk about this. I feel like too, this is a good episode for anyone that's listening because I feel like a lot of us don't even realize that some things that we're doing or saying is part of creating a boundary.
Yeah. Yeah. So first, we found a definition on the Google of what boundaries means. And so we're just going to put that out there first before we start talking about all the different types of boundaries and setting boundaries in different situations. So this is what Google said. Boundaries are limits that define what behaviors are acceptable and how much others can influence us. They can be physical, emotional, or based on time, space, or other factors. So this really affects not just like physical boundaries, it affects like your mental health and emotional and all of that. And that is why it is so necessary to have them.
True. And
Yeah.
I think like we're gonna get more into what each of these like boundaries mean, but like I just love the definition because it's just straightforward. Like this is what it is.
Yeah. So the first point that we kind of wanted to talk about was really quick was expressing your limits in advance. So it is much easier if you set the boundary in advance and like communicate it earlier in the relationship or like maybe an event that's happening or whatever. And later on, we'll talk about like if you didn't set them right away and how to do that. But yeah, I think people get really nervous to communicate that they need, like, that they have a limit. An example would be, I need time to think about it and I'll get back to you.
Which is like, I don't think people realize that's setting yourself a boundary. Like you are literally expressing like, hey, I don't know. And it's okay not to know, but not to communicate that is also not okay. So saying that and then setting that boundary is so powerful.
Yeah. So we wrote down it sets clear expectations, it gives you space to decide, and it prevents impulsive decisions that might overwhelm you. I also get so nervous to tell someone, like, let me think about it. Like, I don't know why that makes me nervous. I'm still very much like figuring out the boundary situation. I've practiced it, but I'm still figuring it all out. But I love that. It's so simple. And that's it. Like, I need time to think about it and I'll get back to you.
I
And
feel I feel like too we get so pressured when someone asks us a question that we have to answer now. But like there is nowhere that says you have to answer someone's question now. And saying and if you answered it now and you weren't sure, you are gonna create this like stress between you. You're gonna like feel like you're telling a lie even almost. So like putting your foot down saying, hey, I don't know. Let me get back to you is such an easy boundary but it's so powerful to keep you out of a situation where you are going to feel all the certain things that you don't need to feel.
yeah. And like when you take time to think about it, like actually take time to think about it, like it's like you're not making that like impulsive, emotional decision. You're like, okay, what do I really need? And then I can get back to them and let them know. So yeah, that's like so simple, but I need to remember that one myself.
I feel like too, like it could, and I feel like the way we like gave this example kind of feels like a work question, but this could be like, hey, what do you want for dinner? This could be like, this can even be in the middle of an argument. You're fighting over something and someone's like, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And you're like, but like, I don't know what to respond right now. And this can be like used at any situation.
Yeah. Glenn and I are very different when we um, say argue, when we have discussions, heated discussions. He wants to talk about it like right now, like because he just wants to get over it and like get through it. And if I say to him what I'm feeling in that moment, like he's not going to want to hear that. And it won't be something I'm proud of saying because I do need that time. I do need time when I'm emotional to think about it first before because I can think it through and I can think about it from all angles and not just like
Right.
you. Yeah. So I thank you for that because exactly that is how
I,
I.
I'm the same way. Like I have I had a bad habit my whole life. Like I would just walk away and like that's not okay either. So like literally just putting your foot down and be like, hey, I don't know. I don't want to speak about this right now. I need time. Like that is you're creating a boundary for yourself and for that other person then.
Yeah, because I used to just walk away too, and he'd be like, get even angrier, and I just need to
Yes.
be like, I need time, and he kind of knows by now, but like, I need to be the person that communicates that. Like, I need some time. Give me 10 minutes. Give me 20 minutes. However long you need, an hour. Give me a day. Give me a few days. Like whatever it makes sense in that situation, and then I'll get back to you. But I want to come back to you like with a clear head. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a boundary for you and for others.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to the next point, setting limits for mental and physical health. So, boundaries are not about pleasing everyone, but about preserving your well being. So, sharing the importance of saying no when something feels draining. Isn't that me like all the time? That's me like all the time. We literally wrote down turn down social obligations or extra tasks if they feel like too much. I mean, we talked about this in the holiday episode, and I was journaling. Sorry, I'm like so excited about this point because I was journaling this morning about how proud I was of myself, which in and of itself, telling myself that I'm proud of myself is a huge step in like my own world. But I was like so proud of myself because this month it's very busy. It's the holidays, like it's Christmas and Hanukkah and everything that comes along with it. It's not just the end of December. It's the whole, I mean, Thanksgiving through. It's a lot. And I get really overwhelmed and my social battery gets really drained. And I'm used to trying to say yes to all the things because I feel like I want to make the most amount of memories for my family and do every single thing. And it's draining on me. And then by the end of December, I'm like, need to sit by myself for a month in a hole and being a hermit because I said too much, like yes to too much. And so I was journaling this morning about how proud I was of being really intentional about what I was saying yes to and what I wasn't. And this weekend, for example, like we did a lot this past week. So this weekend, I told Ashley yesterday, I just sat and did all the things I wanted to do. I read, I journaled, I took a walk. Like I purposefully told Glenn, I cannot do anything this weekend. I told him that in advance, knowing what was going on. I let him know that I had that boundary of this weekend
Yeah.
is no.
No.
Sorry. That was my
And
thing.
well, and no is a complete sentence. That's a full sentence. Like you don't need to say more than no. And I think too, like, we so many times want to say yes to everything, like you're saying. And when the more times you say yes to others, like you're saying no to yourself. And I think like creating time to yourself, like, is a boundary for yourself. Like, I took care of children all week, all this week for 38 hours, right? I'm exhausted. So today I'm off and I'm going to say no to doing my entire to-do list. Instead, I'm going to break it up between 2 days because that's saying yes to me, then saying yes to my emotional health and creating that boundary. Like, yes, I can do all this, but is that good for me? No.
Yeah. I think like, saying no is really hard for me. I'm just going to be honest. Like it still is so hard. And it's even harder, like if I'm like switch it up and for to say no to friends. Like if someone asks me, like, hey, do you want to meet up for coffee? Like, but I do want to meet up with them for coffee. But also I have a lot of things happening that week and I don't want to double book myself with multiple things. And so I have to say no. And I always feel like I have to come up with an excuse, like a fake excuse because I feel bad saying no. But it's okay to just be like, no, I can't. How's next week?
Yeah.
That's
I
it.
think too, I know when I was younger, a lot of times, like, I would say the word no and it didn't mean anything. Like, people wouldn't respect that word. Like, people didn't respect that that is a full sentence. I'm saying no, that is it. Like, and I think sometimes it's hard because when you use that word so many times and it has not been respected, you don't feel you have that ability to use that word and it has power anymore. And I think, like, even when I work with children, like, I really focus on finding other ways to, like, even express, like, I'm saying no, like, and something I even teach children is like sometimes people won't say no, but their body language will say no. And I think, it's realizing that this word is so powerful and we have to use it even when it's hard, even if it doesn't feel like it has power anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. It's okay to say no.
It's okay to say no because saying no is saying yes to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Anything else for that one? Okay, move along. So the next one we're going to talk about is owning your emotions, not theirs. I love this one so much. And, saying I'm not responsible for your emotions. You don't have to even say that out loud. I say that in my head a lot, especially when it comes to like obviously I live with my husband. I love him so much and we both have days where we're off, right? And a lot of times I try to express to him I'm having a sad day. I'm having an angry day. I'm having a really tough day. Like, and there doesn't even have to, he knows at this point, there doesn't have to be a reason. It's not like anything happened. I'm just having a hormonal day, whatever it is. But going the opposite way, he has bad days too, and he has tough days. And I always felt like I was like responsible for helping him. I don't know why I felt that way. Like I was responsible for helping him to be happy and it's not my job to make
Yeah.
someone else I can't make someone else happy. Like there's something going on that I can't help, you know?
Jackie always reminds me of this too. And I think like it's so true. Like something I always say is your feelings are created by your thoughts. So what you're feeling is your coming from your thoughts. So if you remember things like that, like you're not giving the power to someone else. Like I feel like when someone tries to make you responsible for their feelings, they're trying to give you like they're trying to take away like give you their feelings and it's not like that. Like you are in control of how you are. And yes, it is your responsibility of how you react, but it's not your responsibility to be responsible for someone else's feelings because, again, those are caused by their thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes like so our example that we wrote down was if someone's upset because you declined an invite, remind yourself that their feelings don't make your boundary wrong. Like it's okay. It's so hard, I think, for us as humans to be okay with someone being upset at us. Like we just want everyone, I mean, not everyone's this way, but I have a lot of, especially women that I've talked to, like we don't want someone to be angry at us or upset at us. And so we will cut our boundaries to be able to make someone else happy and people please. And the only person that's getting hurt is us. And then we're anxious and we're just sad and we're depleted. And it's because we aren't staying strong with like the boundary. And if someone's getting upset because in this example, let's just say because you're declined an invite, like is that you or is that something
No.
going on with them that they're that upset that you declined their invite? Like if you really logically think through it, it's something going on with them if they're upset. Because if someone tells like, "Hey, I can't come," like, okay. But if I was in a really bad place or like depressed, I'd be like, they don't want to come. Like, why don't they want to come? What did I do wrong? Like you just start
Yeah.
swirling,
I feel
swirling.
like too, like, I don't know, I haven't like in my head, I'm like thinking of like me acting this way because I've done this before where I've gotten upset that like I couldn't go somewhere and they wouldn't like change their plans to make it work for me. And I think and then in the day, I wish in that situation they gave me the courtesy though of listening to why I'm upset And I think that's the thing too, is like someone might decline your invite, or like you might say like, hey, I can't make it at this time, but can we do it at this time? And I think giving the person the courtesy to listen to why they're upset is awesome. Like you should give people that courtesy of listening, but you should also realize that why they're upset is again because of their feelings and their thoughts. Like, and you shouldn't feel responsible. But again, if you're a good person, you're a good friend, you're going to listen to the courtesy. You don't need to be cold hearted, right? And I think if you are courteous and you listen and like are creating like, hey, I'm still here for you and I understand why you're upset, but unfortunately there's nothing I can do about it. And that is creating even a bigger boundary.
Yeah, a lot of the times I feel like I've seen people, people, including myself, when we're upset at something, it's usually not at that. It's usually it's something else going on that's a deeper level making us upset, and we just need something to be upset at. I mean, we see that all over social media. People are so quick to just type their opinion. They're mad, whatever, seeing like a 2-second clip of something and they're just like, meh, meh, meh. And you're just but why are you so upset? Why is that triggering you so much? It's something deeper down. It has nothing to do with the video.
Yeah,
So,
100%. I still think
that,
about like when I worked at Disney, guests would like yell at me and be like, "You ruined my vacation." And I'm like, I don't like, I'm sorry that you tie-dyes over. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. Obviously, there's something else going on, like, whatever it is, like, there's nothing I can do about it. And you have to be strong. But like, I'll give you my example. So I I was supposed to go to the movies with my friend, like my friend and her friend. And I was like, hey, I have other plans that night, but if we do it at this theater, I'll be able to meet you there when I'm done with those plans. And they were like gun ho about the theater they wanted to go to was a different theater than the one I asked to go to. And I got so upset because it wasn't that I wasn't able to do this with them. It was I wanted to be part of like this girlhood moment and I didn't get to have it. And I wish like they took the courtesy to listen. And again, these are my expectations, right? So, and it's just my expectations. Like, I wish they took the time to listen and understood that, hey, maybe we should schedule something else with her because she's, needing this girl time.
yeah,
And so I think, again, it had nothing to do with, and they might have thought at the end of the day, it had to do with like, I can't come to these plans. I'm so mad. Like, I specifically wanted to do this plan, but really in the reality, it wasn't I wanted to do that plan. I just wanted girl time.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes it's like expressing that, and sometimes that's hard too to like express what you need. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, but yeah, at the end of the day, like I think we just as humans, like we want other humans to like us and be a part of something, and especially our spouse or our best friend or whatever. And but it's really not like up to us to make them happy. Like we are responsible for making ourselves happy, and sometimes by doing things to make yourself happy, you influence others
Hmm.
to want to make themselves happy. So like that's even a better situation. It's like do what you can for yourself and then like be the inspiration for other people so they can do
Yeah.
that too.
I feel like too, like, I just want to say, like, how mindful we are about ourselves and like our self-care. Like, this boundary itself is so much like mental work that you have to do on yourself, like for yourself. And I feel like, certain boundaries, like we were saying, no, that's an easier one to do, even though it feels hard, right? But this boundary is even deeper. This is something like you feeling confident in yourself, you feeling confident in like who you are as a person, knowing like, not taking on someone else's stress. Like, I don't know. I just feel that this one is such a self-care boundary too.
Yeah. And I'm just because I'm thinking about it and I'm a squirrel brain and I didn't write it down, so I probably will forget if I don't say it right now. I have a really hard time with mom guilt. It's something that I'd say is like one of the hardest things for me. And I don't really know why it is. And I know people will be like, oh, you shouldn't have mom guilt. You need to take care of yourself. And like, I do know that. Like, I know that I need to take care of myself. I know how important it is for me to be the best mom by taking care of me. But still, it's in the back of my mind. And so I've tried to like put things in place. And this might help like other moms watching at the house and first of all, communication with my husband, like letting him know what I need is like, you have to do that because otherwise they don't know. Like he doesn't know that I need my time. But specifically this chair that I'm sitting in, So I just thought of it because I'm sitting here. This chair was the chair that I used to rock Gavin and Pierce, like when they were babies. It was in their room, and we almost got rid of it. And I was like, I really like that chair. And so we put it here. This is the corner of my room I'm sitting in. And Glenn, no, he calls it Mama's chair because it's like on my side of the bed. So whenever Mama is sitting in her chair and the boys try to come in the room, although most of the time doors closed, but if they try to come in, Glenn will come and be like, guys, she's in her chair. Like, leave her alone. Leave her alone. She's in her chair. And it's just like a physical representation of like him knowing like that this is my chair. And even the other night, the kids were in bed and I just wanted to sit in my comfy chair and like read. And so I come over, he's sitting in bed watching TV, and I come sit in my chair and he's like, is everything okay? Are you all right? Because I was sitting in the chair. And so sometimes you need that like physical, that just physical thing that tells, the family, like sometimes, because sometimes it's hard for me to say it. Sometimes it's hard for me to like vocalize what I need. And so sometimes having that is easier, or texting Glenn. It's just things that I was thinking of. Like, this is kind of how I set my boundaries, or like at least communicate what I need to him. Sometimes it's easier for me to text him. So anyway, I just had to interject that because I was thinking about it.
Yeah, I want to give one more example. I love that, like how you were saying, like this is a self boundary. I'm going back to like squirrel brain. I'm going back a little bit, but another thing is like I've told people before, like I know you're upset at me, but these are caused by your feeling, like your thoughts. Like you need to realize that like these are my thoughts and these are your thoughts, and it's okay that you're upset at me, but I am not fully understanding hey, I'm not fully understanding what is really causing this. And I need you just to take a moment to chill, like a moment to step back, and we'll talk soon. And
Yeah.
like, I think that's a powerful boundary, like based off like our people are not causing your, you know?
Yep. So Ashley's not looking at our notes right now. I'm looking at the notes, but the next one is respecting differing opinions. And so I was like, did she look at the next one? So, I know you have your opinion, but I have mine too. And like respecting that you might not totally understand each other. Like it's okay to agree to disagree. And I do that with Glenn sometimes. Is that what you're kind of saying? I didn't mean to
Yeah, I think so. I think I was kind of like binding them together a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was like, wait, I have to tell this. Yeah. I agree to disagree with Glenn quite often because I love him. He always thinks he's right. And maybe I do too. And I'm just like not self-aware about it. But we're just like, okay, well, this is how I feel and that's how you feel. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Not everyone is going to have your same opinion. We're not supposed to. Like, we're all different humans and we were all put here for different reasons and to have different paths, different journeys. Like there's no way that everyone will have the same opinion about everything. Um, and so it's okay. Like it's okay to like, and then it's okay to say we need some time before we come back and continue to talk about it if it needs to, be continued on, like you were saying. So
I think,
anyway,
yeah, it's well, you also don't need to like have a whole argument because you have two different opinions. Like creating that boundary that like I respect your opinion, but you need to respect mine. And also, like I just said, like I've literally said before, hey, I don't understand what's going on. I think we just need some time apart is another way of saying like, hey, we both just need to look at the situation with different eyes and come back to it. And
yeah,
that's okay too, right? Like creating a boundary, it sometimes other people don't need to understand what that boundary is. This boundary is you're creating it. These are boundaries are created off your thoughts, your feelings, your past, your future, things that you like put together over time.
yep, yep, I agree. It just made me think about like I've been feeling like almost like guilty because I haven't been chatting with people as much as I feel like I used to. Like I used to like constantly all day be like chatting with people. And I just feel like, I mean, obviously the beginning of this year, right after like everything from last year happened, I physically couldn't and I was okay with it. But now that I've kind of like gotten through and some time has passed, I feel happy a lot, which is great because it's totally different from the beginning of this year, but I still feel like I'm not talking to people a ton. And that's something that I feel like I don't even know if this has to do with what we were just talking about, but like almost guilty about. But I have to come to terms with what I used to need isn't what I currently need, and it constantly changes. And so just and this probably is somewhere in there, like changing a boundary, but just because it's a boundary that I used to have, maybe this like it was like this where I could talk to you all the time. Now it's different, and that's okay. And that might be something that we have. So maybe I'm skipping ahead, but I just thought
Might
about
not,
it.
but that's okay. I think it's so true though, because every season's different. And, especially once you add on other elements like your husband or children or a friendship or like a new job, whatever it is, every season has its own different elements to it. And every season's going to require different energy, different place you have to be, different things you need to do. So, it's okay that that boundary changes, right? Saying like, hey, I know we used to talk every Tuesday, but I don't think I have that ability to do that in this season of life. Maybe we can try to talk every couple weeks though, or we
Yeah.
can text some more, whatever it is. Or hey, I'm not looking at my phone. Like I have that a lot of time. People like I feel like people expect us to like respond right away. And I know this is like going back on a boundary we've already talked about, but like I feel like when you're texting and like calling, people respect like want that response right away. And it's like I'm in the season of life where I'm just trying to chill. I'm not trying to stare at my phone every day because I'm doing so much.
Yeah. I saw something the other day. I don't know if it was like a meme or something about how like it was probably like a reel, but it was like, oh, I I tried to call, so and so during my 20-minute social window and they didn't respond. So I guess I'll talk to them in like 3 to 5 business days. And I was like, that's me.
Literally, I think I've sent you that one a few times too.
Probably.
I was telling Jackie, like, I feel so bad. Like, I love my aunt to death. She's the sweetest human being, but she'll text me like right before I'm like about to like go do something, or text me like at this point of the day where I'm just mentally not there. And I
Yeah.
end up like, and I've gone to that. Thank you, Apple, for changing your settings where you can like remark it that you haven't read it
Yeah.
because let me tell you, beforehand it was like 10 business days. Now we're up to 4 business days. But it sometimes takes 4 business days to respond because I'm like, wasn't mentally there when I first got it. And then life happens, things
Yeah.
happen, right? But I created that boundary that it's okay that I don't respond right away. This person, and I've told people before, I'm like, if it takes me 10 business days, just know I love you still.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hardest part of it is like I don't want someone to be mad at me. And I really truly thought something was so wrong with me because I was like, it's just a text. All you have to do is send a few words back. But sometimes I literally can't do it. I just can't. And not sometimes, like a lot of the times I just literally can't do it. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? But I'm glad to know it's not just me.
Well, I
Because
think
it's
back in the day, I would get so upset too. Like when I was younger, I would get so upset at this friend that, and we got in arguments about this. So like they're listening, like they'll know it's them. But I would get in arguments with them because they would be on social media, they'd be Snapchatting, they'd be posting Instagrams, they'd be posting stories, and I would be like, but they're not responding to my text. I literally had to Google why people would not respond to my text but be on social media, and it literally, but it comes back to me doing the mental work and the work on myself to realize that it has nothing to do with me, right? It's easier sometimes just to snap this picture and post it on your story and be like, da na 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 na, right? Than mentally have the energy to respond to a text, right? That person created a boundary. Hey, I will get back to this text, but I don't have the mental energy right now. And they created that boundary for themselves that they don't have that mental energy. And it takes work on yourself to realize that it's not you, it's that person creating that boundary for themselves.
yep, absolutely. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh my gosh. All right. I'm actually going to skip the next one and go to pushing past guilt because we were already talking about mom guilt and stuff. And
Mhm.
it kind of has to do with guilt too, because I do feel really guilty when I don't text someone back. And it says guilt is normal, but not a reason to compromise. It's not a reason to compromise. And I need to like write that down for myself because I always just feel like, man, like I could just text them back right now, but I just am not in a mental place to. And then I want to like, chuck my boundary to the side. It's not even like I made like a boundary. It's just like it is, but it isn't. And so I'm just like, but yeah, that it makes me feel a lot better that we wrote that down. I need to write that down somewhere else.
Well, I think too, like, so I think again, at this a lot of it, I'm gonna keep saying it because it's so important, but this comes back to the work you do for yourself. If someone says no, if someone says, "Hey, I'm not coming," "Hey, this isn't okay with me," right? Why do you feel responsible to make that person feel guilty now, right? Or, and I know some of it's self-guilt, right? Like you feel bad because you're saying no to this person or you're feeling bad, right? But a lot of times the guilt comes from when our people are making like pushing that boundary and being like, well, what if we just do 10 minutes? Or what if we just do like 15 minutes? Like, what if, right?
Yeah.
What if, right? But you have to again do that work on yourself to know you are strong enough to say, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I need, these are my expectations. I'm not going to do more and I'm not going to do less. So you need to respect that. And if that person doesn't respect that, then that's not someone you want to continue whatever it is. If it's a partnership, a relationship, a business ship, whatever it is, that's not someone you want to continue to even talk to, right? People, we all should have done the work on ourselves for ourselves to realize that this is a mutual agreement. So if someone's telling me their boundary, I mutually have to agree to it because I agree with that person because I, whatever, respect that person.
Yeah. And something that's really helped me personally with a lot of guilt and like I had a lot of guilt at the beginning of the year and I was like I'm assuming in like some sort of depression from everything that happened. I was having just like really crazy thoughts that aren't normal for me and feeling really guilty about the thoughts. Mom guilt is something I always feel guilty about. I often journal about it. And I know I talk about journaling on my social media and stuff. And I'm actually almost done with my journal and I get to buy a new one, which I'm so excited about to like buy a new one. Anyway, but okay, so I just free journal most of the time. Sometimes I will write down, if I don't know what to write down, I'll just write down straight affirmations. I have some affirmations that I've come up with, and I just keep adding to them in my notes app in my phone. So they're just always there. So if I just can't think of anything to write about, sometimes I just literally rewrite affirmations down, which is really powerful. But I will start journaling about, I'm feeling guilty because blah, blah, blah. And I try to get everything that I can, like every thought out on the paper. And then eventually I start to almost give myself advice,
Mhm.
like while I'm journaling. And I'll be like, well, you know, I know that I have mom guilt. However, I do need to take care of myself. And these are the things that I like to do to take care of myself. And when I do these things, this is how I feel. And by the end of it, I've like given myself really good advice and then feeling great about it, like, or at least better. And so that's been really powerful for me. I never used to stick with journaling, but for the past year, I've been really consistent about it. And I've just really like found a lot of power in it and confidence, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's something that I like to do. But
I feel like too, like you can feel guilty from like, I think, I don't know, like guilt can also come from this like I feel like I can do much more, right? Like I feel like I have the power to do more, but mentally I can't. And so then you feel guilty, right? But again, creating that boundary and saying it's okay to feel guilty, right? It's okay to feel the feelings I'm feeling, but I can't get down on myself because I can't do more, right? I think that is so, that's what
yeah,
guilt sometimes is like mentally, I can do it all. Mentally, I'm superwoman. I'm a superhuman, right? I can make everyone happy. I can please everyone. I can please myself. But physically, like, I can't. I physically cannot do this because if I do this, I mentally am not going to be in the place I need to be in, right? And I think having boundaries around, and it could be a to-do list, it could be around people, it can be around anything, right? Saying, I know I can feel guilt if I say no, but it's okay to be good. It's okay to say no. And it's okay to feel that guilt because that means that I wanted to do that. It means that I wanted to do all these things for this person. It means that I wanted to get my to-do list done today. But unfortunately, that's just not what's happening.
yeah. I think some of the guilt too, like to go even deeper in what you just said, because I was just thinking about it. A lot of the times it's your comparison of what you've seen other people do. And you're like, well, that person did all these things. Why can't I do that? But they have a totally different situation and a totally different life. They might be in a different place. They may have done more work. Like you just don't know. And
Mhm.
so I think that comparison can easily put us in a place of guilt too, because
Yeah.
we just feel like we should be able to do all these other things that other people are doing.
Yeah, you don't under like what you see, other people's grasses are not always greener. Like your grass is just as green. You just have to look at it and see the rich life that you have.
Yeah. Love that. Thanks. Okay, moving on. So, um, thriving, sorry, this is what we wrote down. Thriving even when it displeases others. Ooh. So even if other people don't understand, boundaries can create space for our growth. And it's so hard because some people are just so set in like being in the place that they're in and being in that comfortable space. It's not comfortable, it's comfortably uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the times when we try to grow, other people don't understand it. And it could be in any area. You know, we want to be a better mom, we want to be better at work, we want to be better, we want to lose weight, we want to, whatever it is, other people just aren't going to understand a lot of the time. And I think some of that is them having their own like self-limiting beliefs that they're placing on us. Like, oh, you're trying to lose weight. Well, it's really hard and you shouldn't really cut anything out and like all this, they just start going, you're not gonna have a drink or you're not gonna like you can't just eat the bread. Like it's just a piece of bread, like, or whatever it is, right? Like people just don't understand. And
Yeah.
like that's okay because it's your boundary and it's your decision for your own life and it's
I
different.
don't I don't know if this like totally goes with it, but I just think about like how I keep kosher style. And
Mhm.
all the time I hear people go, well, you could just have the cheeseburger, nothing's gonna happen to you. Or like you can have the pepperoni pizza, nothing's gonna happen to you. And I'm like, I've never had a cheeseburger, I've never had a pepperoni pizza. I have no desire. Like this is my boundary. Like I've kept kosher style. I've kept step kosher basically my entire life. Like, this is what I'm accustomed to, and you're not gonna change my decision, even if you don't understand that.
Yep. 100%. It's so strange. People inject their like opinions. It's just because they wouldn't feel comfortable doing it. It's not
Yeah.
something that they're used to. So they're like, "What do you mean, Ashley? Just like have a cheeseburger. It's delicious. Like why can't like they're not open to understanding like this is something that I do like for religious beliefs, but even if it wasn't, if it was just something that like people are so strange. But yeah. So not everyone's going to agree with you on the
And
things that
it's
you
okay.
yeah, especially when it comes to parenting. Woof.
But I feel like that's having confidence in yourself, like creating confidence that like these are my boundaries. This is how I feel. This is what I'm going to do for myself.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, boundaries are created again for yourself. It's like a gate, right? You can either let people in for that gate, or you can say, nope, gate's closed, go away, go home.
So the last point that I want to make about that is you kind of have to step back and say to yourself, do I want to be happy? Like it's so simple. Do I want to be happy?
I love
Most people
that.
I think are going to answer yes, like I would hope. And so, if you want to be happy, what are the things that you need to do for your family to be happy?
I love that.
It's so simple and we just want other people to not be mad at us and to, so bad that we can't make it that simple. That's how simple it is. Like what's going to make you happy? And the things that are make even me and Ashley, I love Ashley. The things that are going to make me happy are not the same things that are going to make her happy and vice versa. And like we're friends and like we love each other and it's going to be okay. And then we probably have differing opinions on a lot of different stuff. And that's okay. Like we love each other. So if you feel like you're going to make someone upset by something that you are deciding, whether it's for parenting or your lifestyle or whatever it is, just know that there are people out there that will be okay
Yeah.
with what you're saying and if or what you're deciding. And if they're not, then you either need to put them farther. If it's a family member, maybe you can't like totally cut them off, like put them farther away, or just say, and I know that we talked about this, I think a couple points down, but it might just be time to like
Cut it
split
off.
off. We do have something, so I'll stop there because we can talk about that in a little bit.
Well, I think too, like
Um,
you're saying, like for you to continue to be the best version of yourself, right? So creating that, like I said, like I keep kosher style, right? That is the best version of myself, right? I don't know any other version of myself. And I think like when people are like, well, Or like, for example, like when people are like, do you want to drink? I'm like, I'm not a drinker. Like, no, thank you. Like, right. But that is my best version of myself. So like when people don't understand it, it's okay for someone not to understand your boundary. Like that is completely okay. But again, if you're confident in who you are, you're confident in this boundary that you set, it doesn't matter what people are thinking. It doesn't matter what people are feeling, right? You know who you are. We'll talk more about, like Jackie said, what do you do when you express your boundary this many times and nothing's changing?
Next point goes with exactly what you're talking about, confidence when facing pushback. And that's what you have to have. Like you, and it's not always easy. I'm not saying like I'm always super confident in myself, and I haven't always been. That was not who I was. I used to be very unconfident. I didn't like having boundaries because I didn't want anyone to be upset at me. I was very people pleasing, and I still have a lot of that in me, but I just have come to realize, like I said before, I want to be happy. Like, I want to be the happiest, most thriving version of myself. And in order to do that, I have to have certain things in place, whether it seems selfish or not fair to others. And like obviously there's compromise in every situation, but that's different. Um, but yeah, just like being able to fill up your cup so that you can be the best mom or the best wife or the best daughter or best friend or whatever. Like you have to have those in place so that you can be full and overflow your happiness onto others.
Yeah. And I think too, like, eh, again, like we're gonna keep saying this, but this you have to do the work for yourself, right? Like you have to continue to put yourself first and say, I've done the self-care, I've done the work to realize this is what I need, this is who I am. And I would say, yeah, I wasn't always good at like creating a boundary. I feel like I would just try to make it work for everyone. Like, okay, well, okay, if this doesn't work for you, let's try this. Like, and at the end of the day, no one was happy, right? That person might have got what they want, but they weren't happy because they didn't originally get what they wanted. I wasn't happy because I was giving more of myself than I needed to give. And you only could give a certain amount of yourself, right? People don't honestly deserve, I don't know if this sounds bad, but honestly, people don't deserve your full 100 sometimes, right? Because once you give your full 100, your cup's not full anymore, right? But they deserve what you can bring to the table. They deserve that I'm going to be my best version of what I have to you.
Yeah. And by having boundaries and sometimes saying no to things or doing things where you need to do, you're preserving that energy so you can give that energy to the people that deserve that energy. Like I can give more energy to my kids, I can give more energy to my husband or my friends or whatever when I'm out, wherever we're going, I can give more of my energy out because I've preserved it by not just
Yeah.
trying to please everyone and saying yes to everything. And like I have that energy stored away. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
I think too, like I think about like my like teenage years and like my young 20 years and like how many times I wish I had a boundary and said, no, I don't want to go to this thing, or no, I don't want to show up, because then I was put in a situation that I didn't want to be in. I was put in a situation where I felt uncomfortable. I was put in a situation where I wanted to like run away, basically. Like I was put in situations where I shouldn't have been, right? But if I had the confidence in myself to say, hey, no, or it's okay if I miss this activity, which I think a lot of it has to do with it too. Like, you're like, hey, if I don't show up, I'm going to miss out. I'm going to have FOMO. But FOMO is something you created in yourself. So no one else created that FOMO, right? And I think that's something too, is like when you create confidence in yourself, you're putting yourself in better situations.
yep, 100%. 100%. There are definitely things that I probably should have said no to. I know I should have said no to, and I didn't. And sometimes it's like those things that you're just like dreading. You're just like, and obviously not like work related or something like that. Like sometimes you have to say yes, but there's sometimes you're just like, you can feel it. And those are the situations you need to step back and be like, should I say yes or should I say no? Like,
Mhm.
do I have the option to say no? Because almost every time you do, and maybe that's the time, maybe it's you telling yourself like you need to say no.
I think too, like, I guess like I talk about this a lot, but like if you put yourself in a situation, you're like, why did I do this? Like, right? Instead of feeling guilty that you put yourself in that situation because you weren't confident in your boundary, try to find a lesson. Try to find like a reason, like why how could I have made this better in the future? Or what could I have done different, right? I think when you put yourself in these opportunities because you didn't create this boundary, it's point of you need to learn a lesson and you need to find that lesson. So instead of feeling guilty for putting yourself in a place that you shouldn't have been because you didn't create that boundary, just find that lesson of what you could have done different next time. And then you become stronger.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like trial and error. Like you don't always know. You don't know right away, and then you figure it out later, and then you can use that for later on, like you're saying, like for the next time. Like, okay, this didn't work out the last time, so we need to change it for the next time. Yeah, absolutely. When others set expectations for you, I can't tell the example, but I was talking to my mom about this today. Other people will often set expectations for you or you for them, but it's okay to set boundaries when you don't meet those expectations, or just realize that not everyone is going to like be able to meet up to the expectations that you set for them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, an example is I understand you hoped I'd be available, but I need to prioritize my own needs right now. Kind of goes with people being upset at us, but
Well,
it's
again,
important.
it also goes back to your thoughts are created, but like your thoughts create your feelings. So when you create expectations for other people, I don't know, like that's your thoughts of what they can do. And that's great that you think that they can do that, right? That shows your belief in them. But it doesn't matter what you believe in someone else. It's who they are as a person. And if they say they can do that, they can do that.
Yeah. If you're expecting someone to do XYZ because maybe you would do it, then you're gonna be maybe a little hurt because they don't understand the expectation, first of all, because you probably aren't voicing it, and now you're upset that they didn't do XYZ, but they don't even know that you're upset, and the only one that's getting hurt is you.
Yeah, or it
No?
goes back to our example of like seasons of life change, right? So, yeah, maybe in 5 seasons ago, I was able to do XYZ. So you expect me to still be doing XYZ, but you're going to get disappointed when you learn that I'm not in that season of life anymore. I can't meet those expectations that you put on you. At the end of the day, it's not fair to put expectations on someone else either and expect them to show up for those expectations you put on them. And I think that's how you get hurt. I had this, I was telling Jackie about this a while back, but I was like, I expected something, right? And that didn't happen, right? But because I put those expectations on that person and it didn't happen, I was upset, not that person, because that person didn't even realize that they had expectations I made up.
Yep. Yep. And it works with like, I mean, not just even boundaries, like, but well, it is boundaries, but like, just expecting people to know what you're thinking, especially like in relationships or marriages. Like, don't ever expect anyone to just know what you need, or, what, yeah, like what you need, which I guess is a boundary. But I can't expect Glenn to just know that I need something. Unless maybe I'm sitting in the chair, then maybe he'll get the hint. But like, I have to let him know, like, hey, today is a really tough day. I'm going to need, time by myself, or I'm going to need, more support from you. Like, I need more hugs. I don't know, whatever it is. Like, and I do that to the kids too. I let them know, like mommy's just having like a really tough day, and mommy just needs like some time to sit and read today by herself or whatever. Like, it's okay
Yeah.
to like set your expectations for others so that they know, or let them know, hey, I know that we used to be able to do this, but I'm not feeling it. And like, I need time to myself.
I think too, you can tell other people what you expect out of them. Like instead of keeping it a secret, like I feel like whenever you expect something out of someone, you keep it a secret to yourself. When you're literally thinking about someone else, like you could tell someone else, like, hey, this is what I really expected out of you, right? And then realize like you can't be disappointed because these were your expectations, but you could tell someone like, hey, this is what I expect out of you. Do you feel the same? Do you think you can do this or do you not do this? Right. So now you're creating a boundary for yourself too, because you're creating this thing like, well, I'm going to tell them how I feel. Right. But I'm also going to say if they can't do that, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Love that. This one says revealing who respects you. So setting boundaries reveals who truly respects you and who values your well-being. I think we touched on this a little bit, but Yeah, it is very eye-opening when you decide to have some boundaries for yourself and other people just do not understand. It's not even that they don't understand, it's that they're like, they think it's silly or stupid that you have these boundaries.
Or
Uh,
they're like mad because now you've created boundaries and like they can't just walk over you.
yep. Yeah. Um, I just had like a really good thought and then it kind of left my brain because I have a squirrel brain, but I'll think of it eventually. But oh, I know what it is. So, so like a lot of the times when we decide to do things, and like, I'll just use weight loss because that's just something that I'm personally like I've lost 17 pounds this year since February. Anyway, and my family and friends are very understanding, but I know other people that have been like on a weight loss journey, and people will just they don't understand, especially if you're used to going out to eat with people or used to going out drinking with people, and they are just it's almost like they're looking out for your best interest, but they're not, if that makes sense. So they'll be like, but you should let loose and just have a drink. And you're like, but I'm like, I'm not drinking right now. Like, I'm really trying to be like, on my thing, or I just don't feel it, or whatever. Or you got to eat and like, oh, you're just gonna have a salad, like and this applies to everything. But people always, I mean, like when we were in network marketing,
Yeah.
people I had luckily had very supportive family and friends, but I know a lot of the girls on my team, everyone was like, do not do that. It's gonna be horrible. And I heard from my sister's friend's cousin, blah, blah, blah. And someone's always gonna try to bring you down from whatever you're trying to do. And I don't think it's not sometimes it's a jealous thing, but like I think a lot of the time they're really trying to look out for you, but it's their, like I said before, their self-limiting beliefs, and they're
Yeah.
just trying to project that on you, and they're just not respecting the choices and the boundaries that you're making in your life because they can't see themselves doing it or being good at it or succeeding in it or like whatever the
Yeah.
situation. So,
100%. And I think that's the thing too, is like that person's creating expectations that you're gonna fail. So they're creating this like boundary, saying like, oh, you shouldn't do that, right? Like they're trying to protect you with their boundary. And it's like, no, I'm okay. You don't need to worry about me. Like I'm confident in what I'm doing.
yep, 100%. It's really hard to do that. It's really hard to be confident when someone is really trying to bring you down, especially when it's family or a really good friend. I mean, it makes you second guess yourself and it makes it really hard like
Mhm.
to be confident in that decision. But when you just have to run with it. And you could even play the like, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. Why
What's the
not?
worst that could happen, right? Like, or what's the best that could happen? But like sometimes you got to just go to the worst because that you just realize it's not as bad as you thought. So anyway,
Well, Matt always reminds me, the reason one of my friendships ended is because I set boundaries and I stood up for myself. And that person finally was like, oh, I can't walk over them anymore. I can't make them feel guilty for whatever anymore. And like Matt's super proud that I did that, right? Matt continues to remind me, like, you set boundaries, Ashley. You did something for yourself, and that person doesn't respect it, then that person honestly does not deserve you at all and deserves to be in your life because you create a boundary for once.
yeah. And like your feelings are valid even if they don't match what someone else is thinking for you, right? So like you both of your feelings are valid, but you just have to like stand up for yourself and just be confident, you know, in that. So I don't know, just went on a little.
No, it's true. And I think that's the thing is like where you get like the line twisted is like, well, your feelings are created by your thoughts. So that's what you're thinking. I don't respect that. No, it's how you react. So yes, your feelings are created by your thoughts, but it's how you react. So if you react in a disrespectful way, then like that's not okay. And it's again listening to that person and understanding that this is what they're thinking, these are their feelings. But also you can say, again, you can say it as a boundary, hey, I understand this is what you're feeling, but maybe we need to re-talk about this because the way you're thinking about this is doesn't seem right. Like it's what I said or whatever it is, right? Sometimes people they create an expectation of like, oh, well, this is, I don't know, it's like that belief, like, oh, well, if you do this, then that means you're like this, right? It's that expectation like that. And instead, like, no, I need you to listen to what I'm saying and I need you to be respectful of that and not twist my words because what I'm saying is what I'm feeling, right?
Yeah. So going off of that, can we talk about letting go of relationships as a boundary?
Yeah,
Because it goes kind of right along with like family and friends.
yeah,
And
let's
what
go
we're kind
for
of
it.
like sometimes, you know, sometimes it's impossible to just, I mean, not impossible. It's not impossible, but sometimes you really don't want to just cut off a relationship, especially if it's a family member or whatever, and they're a close person maybe. But it's okay to like not have to talk to someone all the time. It's okay to not have to engage in a really long conversation with people often. It's okay to put them kind of over there and like, hey, happy birthday on their birthday, or, like that kind of a thing, but not make it a full-blown relationship, feeling you have to go in depth. And sometimes it is important to cut off a friendship. And Ashley and I both have had that happen to us, or I was the one that
Yeah.
cut off. But like sometimes it's just the best for people to grow together for a little while and then go apart. And like that's okay
Yeah.
too.
I think like I had a friend and we are now, I guess we're like sort of friends now, but I had a like this person was like my sister in high school. Like we did everything together. This person like literally lived at my house at one point. Like we just did everything together. But I can tell that that person was going down a road that I didn't want to go to. And we were so close that I felt like I wasn't growing as a person. So I set that boundary. I was like, hey, I just think we need some time apart. It's nothing against you. Obviously, like we got in a huge fight over it because we were children and we were not doing the mental work to like really understand fully what we each were saying here. And over time, we took that time apart and we realized like I still respect that person. I still think that person's not a bad person. So I'm gonna reach out to that person.
Yeah. Yeah. And like it's natural also because we're humans to obviously we all have different journeys, even me and my husband who live together. And so you grow at different times. And so like my best friend since I'm 37 now. So how old were we? Probably 11 or 12, Erin. We're basically like sisters, but like not. Anyway, so we've both had times in like our best friendship that we've talked a lot and then not talked as much. And we just were doing different things in our lives. And like that's just normal though. Like that kind of growth is normal. And we never cut off our friendship by any means, but like sometimes you just have a closer relationship and sometimes it pulls apart. And sometimes it's like a natural thing, and sometimes it's something that you choose to do because of something that happened from one or the other person. But like it's okay. It's okay to kind of step away and come back together, or decide like we don't need to come back together because it just isn't jiving anymore, you
I have
know?
like this rule that, and I don't usually like reconnect with people, but I have this rule that like in my head, I guess like this is a boundary I created for myself. But if it didn't work out the first time, why would you think it's going to work out again? Like, right, there's a reason why that friendship didn't work out. And I think a lot of times people look at memories, like you look at old photos and you're like, oh, but we had so many good times, blah, blah. But really, like, it's a thing. Like if you're looking at old photos, then what you're thinking about it is what you're thinking about it now, not what you actually were thinking about it. And I've had people like that I've cut off, like friendship wise, reach out to me and be like, "Oh, I miss you. I miss our friendship." Da, 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 da. And I'm like, I appreciate that you're like thinking about me and all these things, but our friendship didn't work out the first time, and I'm not gonna put the effort and try to make something work out now.
Yeah. And that's okay too. There's different people that come in your life and that you need to put that energy into now, or that you want to put that energy into
Mhm.
now because they just help you grow in a way that you need to grow right now. Whereas, and I do have a friend that I do not talk to anymore, and I made the decision to stop talking, but I do appreciate her and everything that we had so many good times together. We've traveled together, like we did a lot of amazing things, and I don't regret any of that stuff. And I learned a lot of lessons, but it just came a time where we just needed to part, and that was
Yeah, and
it.
that's
So,
okay.
yeah.
People are in
Yeah.
your life for different seasons, for different lessons, and that's you just have to take the most out of it and the best out of it.
Yeah, and I don't know if we ever wrote this down, but forgiveness is something that I think about a lot. And I think people think of forgiveness as like, I forgive you, like me telling you, like, I forgive you for what you did. Sometimes you don't have to tell someone. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
cutting that off and saying to yourself, because forgiveness is really for you. It's not for them. because
Yeah.
sometimes you could tell someone that they forgive them and like they don't even care. It's really for you. It's more of a like peace, like letting go type of thing. And so it's okay to like cut someone off and still be like, I forgive you for what you did, but I cannot have you here anymore.
Yeah.
And you don't have to say that to them. It's something that you can say to yourself or to God or whatever.
I
Um,
mean, you don't need to know why someone is cutting you off in reality. Like, you don't need to know. It's creating that boundary of I respect myself and I respect what this person is saying. And so, if they don't feel that this friendship is necessary anymore, if they don't feel like whatever this partnership is necessary anymore, I'm okay with walking away. And that's creating a boundary for yourself that you don't need to go down a deep rabbit hole of why did that person leave me?
yeah. Yeah. Okay. To like speed things up a little bit, and that was really good though. You did a great job. Let's talk about children, boundaries, teaching boundaries. I feel like I know I have children, like Ashley's worked with children for a long time. So I really want kind of your opinion about like how to teach them boundaries that empower them to just like protect themselves, to be comfortable and all
Yeah.
that.
Well, I think so I've been doing childcare for 20 years, and I think there is different types of boundaries, but I think a lot of children don't feel that they can create a boundary. I don't think children honestly even understand that they're creating boundaries when they do. And it's sometimes, unfortunately, it's the way we look at children that we sometimes look at them as that they are not capable, but all children are capable. And again, there's different boundaries. So saying, hey, I'm using this toy right now. I can give it to you when I'm done is creating a boundary. Or, hey, I don't want to hug you. Please don't hug me back. Or saying, hey, I didn't feel comfortable when you talked to me like that. Right. And it might not be those exact words. These are might be because I'm saying it as an adult, right? But it could be them saying it. And again, I goes back to even their body will say, I'm not happy with this, right? And they're creating a boundary with their body, right? If someone's trying to like give them a high five and they're like, no, and like they're pushing their body back, right? That's them creating a boundary with their body because again, kids don't always have the words. And I think as a childcare provider, as a parent, as someone that is with children, it is your responsibility to create that power in them and create those words in them that they could say these things. They can say, hey, I don't feel comfortable with this, or hey, don't do this. And I think too, telling children that if someone makes you feel uncomfortable or if someone tells you, hey, can you keep a secret? That your boundary is, I'm going to tell my parents and go tell or I'm going to go tell an adult, right? And going to tell an adult or a parent, because again, only because children are so young, unfortunately, there is so only so much they can do about whatever the situation is, right? But so many children are put in situations where they don't know that they can say no, right? And I think that I said this earlier, but teaching children not just the word no, but hey, I don't like this, or I would prefer this, or maybe there's another option. Can we talk about it? Right? Because again, the word no becomes powerless when you've said it over and over again and no one's listening. Right. And I think sometimes people think that when a child's saying no, it's just them fighting you. But in reality, that's them creating a boundary. No is one word.
I love that. Thank you. You articulate so well. I know it's really hard. I mean, you have to think of it. It's hard for me as an adult who has been through a lot and has a way deeper, like more functioning brain than a child. It's hard for me to make a boundary. It's hard for me to say no. It's hard for me to tell someone what I need. So it is very hard for a small child. I mean, even Gavin's 8, like even for him, I sometimes wonder like if he's really telling me everything that he's feeling because I know that he's not. Like it's hard for them to express it, and sometimes it's scary for them to say what they feel, just like it's scary for us to say what we feel. And so just like having space, like as a parent, and coming from parent side, like having space to ask them like if there's anything that they feel like they need, like giving them room to respond is so much easier for them than waiting for them to just tell you, because most of the time they're not going to tell you. They're taught to look at parents and teachers and people, adults, like with respect in a way, and so they don't want to tell them how they really feel because they don't want to like get in trouble,
Yeah.
right? And definitely about the hugging situation. And like I mean, if my kids, like I'll ask them like, hey, do you want to give a hug? But I'm not like, you need to go give them a hug now. Like it's just personally, I know everyone's different. I'm not trying to judge at all if you do that, but that's not it for me. Like I want them to be able to, if they don't want to be touched, they don't need to be touched,
Yeah.
right? Like I even say, like, I'm not like, come give me a hug. I'm like, can I have a hug? Even to my own children, can I have a hug? And they can say no. What am I
I
gonna
think
do?
I think as an adult too, it's respecting that boundary that a child sets. Like if they don't want to give you a hug, they don't need to. If they don't want to, eat that full plate of food, even though you told them to, it's respecting that boundary that they're setting. And that is creating confidence in themselves, right? So, from a parent's standpoint, from a childcare provider, like you need to listen to a child's words. I think too, I see this a lot, but people try to tell children how to feel, right? They try to tell them like, oh, are you just angry because da na na na, right? Giving children room to express themselves is them creating a boundary saying, this is how I feel, right? And these are powerful things that if we teach the next generation these things, imagine how much the next generation would create a boundary for everyone, right? And
Yeah,
I just think that we are role models. We can teach them through our words, our actions, the way we talk to them, the way we respect them. Like, if a child falls, it's not saying, "Oh, are you hurt?" or, what, is saying, "What's going on?" Like, how can, the other night I was doing childcare, I was babysitting, and the child did not want to eat their dinner. Like literally did not want to eat their dinner. Instead of saying forcing them and being like, you have to eat your dinner, you can't get off the table. I went over to them, I got to their eye level and I said, hey, what's going on? Is this
yeah,
is this not what you want for dinner? Because that's okay. But your belly and everyone else's belly needs food. So what can we put in your belly to make you feel good? I was like, it looks like there's chicken nuggets, there's cereal, there's all these things. And they're like, cereal. They ate two bowls of cereal, right? So I respected that that's not what they wanted, but I still gave them something they needed.
yeah. And sometimes giving them choices too. I mean, that makes it easier. Like it makes it easier for us too as an adult. Like having choices, like where do you
Yeah.
the I don't even know how to say it, but just like when the argument between like husbands and wives, like where do you want to go for dinner? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. I'm always like, give me three places.
Yeah.
Give me three choices and I'll pick one.
Yeah. Let's
But
have a discussion.
yeah, it's so much easier, especially for children, to like give options and then they can choose things, you know. Okay. So really quick, we're going to talk about recognizing when to create a new boundary. And we kind of talked about this before, but like maybe you didn't have a boundary or maybe you had one, but it needs to change. So like how to recognize when that's needed so
Mhm.
that you can like protect yourself and do be thriving. Um, so sometimes like boundaries aren't clear until a situation arises that affects you, whether that's like your emotional health or whatever, and just kind of paying attention, I guess, to how you're feeling, right? Like, are you feeling anxious? You feeling like just frustrated or tired? So that like your feelings really can tell you like when you need a new boundary or when things need to
Yeah.
change. I feel like,
And again, seasons of life change, and that might be when you have to create a new boundary. Like, I can't show up to XYZ anymore because I have XYZ on my plate. And that's okay. Like boundaries are supposed to change just like you're supposed to change. You're not supposed to be the same person. So if you are using the same boundaries from 10 years ago and you're feeling like defeated and you're feeling like you're not getting anywhere, that's because your boundaries need to change over time, just like you do.
yeah. And I know that we wanted to talk also about boundaries at work, but like we can kind of tie this in with, you know, I know the whole like 9 to 5, right? If you're in like a corporate job, 9 to 5. And some people say after 5 because they want to be looked at as like, sometimes they just have a lot of work, but they want to be looked at as like, I'm working really hard. And so the boundary could be, saying, I've realized that I've, been staying every night at work, but I'm drained. I'm not seeing enough of my family. Or I'm not getting enough time to work on my physical health, for my mental health. And so that's not something that I can do anymore. I need to be leaving by XYZ time. And
Or I'm
that's
not
hard to
checking my
do
emails off the
sometimes.
clock, right? Like
Yeah.
it's bad. I think also like I feel like I've been put in a lot of toxic work positions. And so I remember, I'm gonna go back to like 5, 10 years ago, but I worked at a restaurant and the manager was always yelling. Like he would always just get in these like really bad like tantrums. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like this is not good for my mental health. And I've said to him multiple times, I said, hey, can you please not yell at me? Hey, can you please not treat me like this? Right? Like I need to be treated and respected. And I ended up just leaving because again, that person was not meeting my boundaries. That person was not respecting my boundaries. And I knew that this work environment was not okay. This was not a good situation to be in. And I continue to, you're not gonna do good, you're not gonna thrive in a situation where you are feeling that your boundaries are not being respected. And work is, even a work is just work, right? You're there most of the day. Most people spend 40 hours at their job. So if you're not feeling respected, if you're not feeling like this is a good environment, then why are you still there?
Yeah. It's so hard because I know that we like are nervous if we leave our job. What if we don't find another one? So we stay in these work, environments that are so, like you said, toxic. And it's one thing to like not if you're not expressing what you need and you're not expressing your boundary, that's a whole different situation. Like, but if you're saying like, hey, this is what I need, or I can't do this or whatever, and your boss is like, I don't care.
Yeah. I mean,
So hard, but you really have to rethink like that. You're spending a large portion of your time there. And it's not even just that you're spending that time away from your family, that's affecting your mental health so much.
yeah.
And so, really thinking like maybe I need to be somewhere where someone can, you know, work with me a little bit or, let me leave at 5 o'clock because that's when I'm supposed to be here till, or whatever the situation is. If your kid's sick, like, and you can work from home, like maybe a boss would be willing to like let you do that for the day. I know it's not always possible, but
Yeah.
I don't know, just
And
different.
well, and I think too, like no work situation is gonna be perfect. No human is perfect, right? But if you don't feel that what you're expressing, your boundaries, whatever it is not being met, then that person is maybe not supposed to be there. That workplace is not supposed to be there. And again, that's the time and place where you take those lessons and say, hey, this is what I really liked about that person, or hey, this is what I really didn't like about that person, or that thing, or that place, or whatever it is, and say, hey, and next time I'm put in this type of situation, I'm going to try to express the boundary differently, or I'm going to try to express the boundary a certain way. And again, if I again don't feel that this is where I should be, right, then that's okay. And I think sometimes people get so stuck on, well, I've been there for so long, or I've been friends with this person for so long, I need to continue sticking it out. No one needs to stay somewhere where you're not welcome. That's just it. End of the
Yeah.
day. And that's what boundaries are doing. They're creating this, like, again, fence around yourself and telling people when they're allowed to come in and when they're not.
Yeah. And sometimes it like certain boundaries need to be like very like this is it. Work specifically, like most of the time you're gonna have to have some like leniency because what you exactly want might not always be able to happen. There has to be some compromise there. But if there's no compromise from, the boss side, manager side of it, and there's only compromise from you, then that's really telling you.
I want to say one more thing too.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to speak up. So many people, I remember one of my jobs I recently had, everyone kept saying to me, how are you so confident to speak up and set your boundaries like that? Like, aren't you afraid you're going to get fired? No, I'm not afraid because a person that speaks up for themselves shows that they respect themselves, and that's in return, you should get respect back then. But when you don't speak up for yourself and you don't set boundaries and you say, I don't like this, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be walked over. You're going to be stepped on. And so don't ever feel guilty for speaking up for yourself and saying that boundary because there's no reason for that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, on that note, we're gonna wrap it up. I feel like we could do a whole podcast on like work and
Yeah,
boundaries.
maybe we'll add that to our list.
But we want to hear if there's something that we didn't talk about, and there's a way that maybe you set boundaries, or there's something that you've done in your life that has been really positive by setting boundaries, or like that you've tried, or whatever. We want to know. So leave us like message in the comments wherever you're watching, and let us know, or come on our social media.
Yeah,
And
personally message us too. We're okay with that.
our Instagram is at Hermit Haven Podcast. But yeah, we're gonna leave it at that for today.
I
And
mean, I would love to hear too, any boundaries that you recently set, right? Like, people become more powerful when they hear from other people what
yeah,
their boundaries are, what their examples are. So
yeah,
let us
absolutely.
know.
Yeah. I love examples. I love when people are like, this is what I did. And I'm like, but what did and I don't know. I love that so
Or
much.
tell us a time that you set a boundary and it didn't work out, right?
Yeah. 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 All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us again.
We love you. It was fun hanging out. We'll see you next week.
If you have any topics that you want us to talk about, please let us know. You can
Yeah.
email us or come at us however you want, but just let us know because we want to be talking about things that you guys want to hear about.
And if you guys enjoyed this episode, leave us a little review, a little stars, a little thumbs up, wherever you're listening to it. So that way we know that this was a very enjoyable episode and that we can reach other women that we think should hear this.
And you're welcome to share this episode with a friend so that we can bring more people into the community.
Yeah, and we love criticism or we love positivity. So let us know if there was something that we didn't talk about, you wish we talked about, if there's something we talked about differently. We want to know. This is
All
open
right.
conversation. Bye-bye. We love you.
Love you. Thanks for spending time with us today and being part of our Hermit Haven community.
We hope you enjoyed our cozy chat and are inspired to embrace your inner hermit.
Remember, even in the quiet moments, you're never alone on this journey because we are truly all in this together.
So until next time, stay cozy, stay true to yourself, and keep spreading love wherever you go.
Bye for now.
We'll see you next time.